In the last lecture, we were discussing about different types of molecular weight of polymers, and we defined number average molecular weight, weight average molecular weight, Z average molecular weight or Z average molecular weight, whatever you call, viscosity average molecular weight, and we also introduced the term polydispersity index, which was given by m w by m n. Now, you may ask me what is the need for having more than one molecular weight. We can just simply say that this polymer has this polymer sample has this m n. Now, let us begin with some real life example. Now, I have, so for this class I have 50 students, and average age let us 25 years, all of you. Now, if I assume that your knowledge in polymer chemistry or other subject is related to the age, then you have some knowledge base. Okay. Now, from these students, now I take out 2 students and add 2 10-year students. We have age of 10 years, class standard 10 student, 5 student, and I take out 2 students and add 2 40 years, say professors from any college. So, what would be the average? Average would remain same, 25 years. I have just taken out 2 students, added 2 10 years, and taken out another 2 student of 25 years, added 40 years. So, what do you think the sample's ability to score in any subject which depends upon knowledge would change or not? The average remains same, which is same as 25 years as earlier, but obviously you can now understand that because you added 2 40 years professors, the ability to the knowledge or ability to score in exam is much more for this sample compared to the earlier one. So, what I am trying with this example, what I am trying to convince you that maybe the average remains same in 2 cases. Okay. The first case there was 25 years, 50 students, and in this case you have replaced 4 students with 4 another set of person. The average remains same, but the property, in this case property being the knowledge or the ability to score marks is changed. That means property of a polymer sample cannot be always obtained from just single value of say m n, which is the arithmetic or average. Like this case, if you have a distribution, broader distribution or a narrower distribution, then the property is going to change. How do you determine this molecular weight? For example, if I have this colligative properties, colligative properties, these are like boiling point, elevation, of a solvent, freezing point depression, osmotic pressure, like this. These that the property or the value of these colligative properties will depend upon the number of solid molecules. So, if you add a polymer sample in a solvent, make a solution, the boiling point elevation for that solvent compared to pure solvent or a freezing point depression compared to pure solvent will now determine on the number of polymer molecules present in the solution. The number of polymer molecules which will give you m n, because m n is what concerns the number of polymer molecules. Now, if I want to measure the light scattering from a polymer solution, as you know that light scattering is dominated by the molecules having larger sizes or larger molecular weight. So, light scattering from a polymer solution would depend biased, it will be heavily dependent on the larger molecules, not the smaller molecules, which means the property like light scattering depend more on a MW, not Mn. Ultracentrifugation would depend upon Mz, viscosity is depend upon Mv, viscosity average molecular weight. So, we need all these molecular weights as well as the distribution PDI, polydispersity index, MW by MW, to completely understand the sample. What do you mean by understand? The properties of the sample. If I want to know the the ability to scatter a light from that sample, it would we need MW value rather than Mn, and if you want to find out the colligative properties of that sample, then we know that this is Mn which we need to know rather than MW. And also we will see later lectures that distribution matters. Now, for a given average, if distribution changes, then the properties like melt viscosity and the strength and the mechanical properties also changes with the distribution. So, keeping the average same, the polymer property will change if the distribution also change. Okay. So, these are the reason why we need all these numbers or the values of all these molecular weights, not only a single molecular weight, and also the distribution. Now, before I move to this lecture's topic on step growth polymerization, I just want to very briefly touch upon the thermodynamics of polymerization. We know del G is del H minus T del S. When you are making chain polymers, what are you doing? We are making chain from the monomers. So, lots of bond formation is taking place. So, del H is highly negative, okay. And because the monomers is getting tied up, del S is also negative. So, depending upon the value of this del S and del H and del S, the del G value will depend, and at normal temperature, the temperature we work in the lab, del H is highly negative, which makes del G is less than 0. So, the polymerization is highly favorable, chain polymerization highly favorable. Now, at a higher temperature, if we increase T temperature, then this second term T del S becomes higher and higher. So, minus T del S will become more positive, which means at some point at a very high temperature, delta G would be 0 and positive above certain temperature. In that case, the reverse reaction would start taking place, that means polymers will start unzipping. Because in normal temperature, this reverse reaction is very insignificant for chain polymers. So, typically we do not represent say a reaction like polyethylene formation with a reversible sign, because the temperature we do normal chain polymerization, this reverse reaction is insignificant. Now, in case of step polymers, like we talked about PET, polyethylene terephthalate, you have terephthalic acid, say I write Ta plus ethylene glycol, that is diol, ethylene diol, I write Da. So, polyethylene diol ED, which gives you polyethylene terephthalate plus water. Now, in this case, these reactions are reversible, and you have the associated equilibrium constant with this reaction, because the reactivities of this acid and alcohol to form a ester is not very highly feasible reaction. So, often we need catalyst to make the reaction feasible. This K would depend on the reactivity of the functional group as well as the temperature. Okay. Higher the temperature, the K will go up and your reaction will go towards right hand side. Now, in most cases, in most practical cases, to make a high molecular polymer, you have to take this condensate out, because this is a equilibrium reaction, reversible reaction. In most practical cases, these are taken out by applying vacuum and also increasing temperature. By increasing temperature and doing that, you force the equilibrium move towards right hand side, which will gives you the polymer. So, just to mention these two features, that these step growth polymers are reversible equilibrium reaction and having a definite K value, which would depend on the reactivity and temperature. And for a practical synthesis of step growth polymers, you need to take out this condensate from the reaction by applying high temperature and high vacuum, so that the reaction proceed to the product side. Whereas, in case of chain polymers, it is thermodynamically feasible, only at very high temperature the reverse reactions become significant. Okay, just remember this point, we will come to the detailed thermodynamics of polymerization when the appropriate time comes. Now, we will move to the step growth polymerization and its kinetics and mechanism. Now, step growth polymerizations can be classified in or grouped in two types. One is where you have polymerizations done from single monomer having two different functional group. So, I write A B gives you this. For example, I can write general reaction and the second group is where you have two different monomer having two different bifunctional monomer. I can write a general example as in the earlier case. Gives you plus okay, and 2n minus 1 H2O. And as we have learned in last lecture, that to make a high molecular weight of these polymers, the polymerization has to be pushed with such a way that the conversion of the monomers or functional groups are very high, more than 98%, and also we will see that another condition is required for this type of polymerization to make high molecular weight is that the two functional groups has to be present stoichiometric amount. That means, the ratio of NH2 group and COH groups has to be 1:1. That is another requirement. We will find out more about that little later. So, as we had seen in earlier lectures that we write this stepwise reaction to describe a step growth polymers. On general you can write n mar plus m mar gives you n plus m mar. So, in a polyesterification reaction, when you are forming a polyester from diacid and diol or from a hydroxy acid, at any point of time you will find in the mixture diacids and different size of diacids, diol and hydroxy acids and so on. And this all these reactions happen between the functional groups. So, polyester case reaction between OH and COH. Now, if you want to find out the rate of this polyesterification reaction or the step growth polymerization, you need to know the rates of each step and then sum up to get the rate of the final polymerization. Now, that is very difficult job. It is impractical to find out rate for individual, because there are so many reactions happening, different possibility. If you want to know the reactant rates for each and individual steps and then finally sum them to get the final rate, that is practically impossible task. So, this is simplified, it can be very simplified if we imagine that the rates of all these reactions are same. Now, these reactions are nothing but reaction between the functional groups, though the sizes of these species are different, but the final reaction is between a OH group and COH group for a polyesterification reaction. So, we can assume that the rates of these individual steps are different, and first it was proposed by Flory, and which is proposed as the equal reactivity of functional group. Functional groups. Flory who proposed first. Now, what does it mean by equal reactivity of functional group? One, that reactivities of both functional group in a bifunctional monomers are same. For example, if you have a diol of a diacid or a hydroxy acid, in case of the polyester reaction we just talking about, reactivities of both the functional group in the bifunctional monomers are same. Now, what is the second point is that the reactivity of one functional group is independent the other functional group present in the molecule. which means whether the other functional group has reacted or not. If you have bifunctional molecule with two functional group those side. Now, reactivity of one functional group is independent of the other. So, you can say that whether the other functional group which present the other end of the molecule, whether that is reacted or not, that does not determine the reactivity of the other side, the functional group present in the other side. And second, it is independent of the size of the molecule or how far the two functional group are present, whether they are present in a dimer or in a octamer. So, the reactivity of one of the functional group is independent of the other functional group irrespective of the length in between, okay, which makes this all the reaction as happens in the step growth polymerization process, they are same. Now, this assumption is a fair assumption and it has been proven experimentally. For example, this reaction long back by these two scientists, it was shown that this reaction, this esterification reaction becomes independent. The rate of this esterification reaction becomes independent when x is greater than or equals to 3, which means the reactivity of COH group is independent of the chain length. And not only this is true for monofunctional reagent, this reaction can be shown true if you have the another COH in the other side. So, if you have a dicarboxylic acid and reaction, it has already proved experimentally that if you have a dicarboxylic acid, a reaction with ethyl alcohol, again the rate is independent of the chain length of the diacid group, and the rate becomes limited, it becomes equal whenever the the chain grows with a significant number, in this case say 3. Another example we can show, the other example where now, rate of this polyesterification reaction is again it become independent on the value of x as well as the n. This example proves that the assumption we made earlier in terms of equal reactivity of functional group is valid, and that has been, it is not something we are imagining to make our life simpling, make our life simplify. This has been experimentally proven fact that the reactivity of the equal the functional groups are equal when in the oligomeric species present in a step polymerization step. Now, this can be justified if you think little more. For example, how the reaction takes place in this case between the two functional groups between OH and COH for a esterification reaction. The reaction takes place by the collision between the two functional group. Not all the collisions are fruitful, not every collision between the OH group and COH will give you esterification, but a fraction of collisions which can overcome the activation lineage will give you a ester. So, as we know that the reactivity or finally the outcome of the reaction it depends upon the collision frequencies. Now, when these two functional groups are present in a small molecule, compare a situation if you have the two functional group present in a bigger molecules. Now, it is understood that bigger molecules will have lower diffusivity, they will have lower diffusion rate. So, the collision frequency between the two molecules, two oligomers in this case will be lower. Understand, I am talking about the collision frequency between the two molecules, in this case two oligomers having two functional groups at the end, they will be lower if you compare with a smaller molecule. But same times by the same logic, when they come close they will stay longer because their rate of diffusion is slower, and if they stay longer then the probability of collision between the functional groups which are present at the end also increases. So, the collision frequency between the functional groups also increases. So, same time the collision frequency between the molecules coming down because of size being higher, but the collision frequency between the functional groups they are becoming more. So, on effect these two are nullifying each other, and so final collision frequency between the functional groups present in a smaller chain compared to a larger chain are equal, and as the collision frequency of the final functional groups are equal, the reactivity or the rate of reactions also equal. Okay. So, now we will move to the we take an example and go to the kinetics of step growth polymers, and before we start kinetics of step growth polymers, we define another term, or we talk about Carothers equation, which gives you the average degree of polymerization. Which sometimes written as dP is the average of degrees of polymerization. Now, what is the degrees of polymers? We learned in the first lecture is the number of structural units present in the molecule, in a molecule or in a polymer chain. As I said in the first class itself, that structural units and repeating units are different. Now, it will become more clear, just give few examples. So, let us talk about styrene. Now, in this case this is the repeating unit which is same as a structural unit. Structural unit is the residue of the monomer. So, in this case repeat unit or number of repeat unit is same as number of structural units. Molecular weight of repeat unit is same as molecular weight of structural units. In case polyethylene terephthalate this is the repeat unit. Okay. So, what is the relation between repeat unit and structural unit in this case? Now, each repeat unit contains 2 structural units. Okay. So, the molecular weight of repeat unit is the average of the structural units minus the condensate which had gone out, in this case water molecules, because of the condensation reaction. See, this is specific case of say polyethylene. This is repeat structural units and repeat unit is this. So, in this case molecular weight of structural unit is twice the molecular weight of repeat unit. This is the repeat unit and this is structural unit. So, the molecular weight of structural unit is twice the molecular weight repeat unit. So, this is a specific case, this example is not there in many case. So, there are these two are more common where the molecular weight of repeat unit is same as structural units, and where a second case where molecular of structural unit is the summation of the average. So, it basically you have to put twice average multiplied by twice for this. So, we section we said the average number of structural units per molecule. Now, this can be given by n 0 by n. If n 0 is the total number of monomers at the beginning and n is the total number of chains present at after polymerization at some time. How do you get it? You just if you simply think that say if you have 50 of you students, I have asked and occupy 5 benches. Now, they are big benches, so you can occupy any chairs if you choose. So, all 50 of you distributed in the 5 benches. Now, at the end I ask you to hold hand and tell me what is the average number of student in a particular bench. So, you have total number of 50 student, you have 5 bench. So, average per bench is 50 by 5, that is 10. Simply, if you are starting with n 0 of monomers and then finally, you are present, you remain with n chains, then each chain will have n 0 by n structural units, simple. Okay. Now, we know we define conversion, or conversion as P. Now, how do you define conversion P? Total number of functional group reacted divided by total number of functional group present. Now, n 0 was the number of molecules or monomers at the beginning, and now n is the monomers present. So, n 0 minus n is the number of monomer or moles of monomers reacted divided by n 0 is the total number of monomers at the beginning, and each monomer has 2 functional group. So, I multiplied by 2 functional group 2 each to make the total functional group reacted. So, this is the number of molecules present at this moment any time during reaction. So, n 0 minus n is the monomers which are reacted. So, you multiply by 2 to get the number of moles of functional groups reacted, and n 0 was the monomers were present originally. So, n 0 by 2 is the number of functional group present at the beginning. So, this is the fraction which has reacted. So, I write n 0 by n 0, I can rearrange this to get n 0 by n as 1 by 1 minus p. So, if you compare this and this, I can write the average degree of polymerization is given by 1 by 1 minus p. Now, this is again giving the same information as we got in earlier cases, in earlier discussion. To have a high molecular weight polymer, you need to have high value of x n, is the number one monomer unit or structural unit present in the system. How do you get a high value of x n? Only the p is high. If it is p is 0.98, that will 90% of the functional groups as reacted, you get 50, x n is 50. If it is 0.99, that will 99% of the functional groups are reacted, then you get 100. So, look how it is from a 98% reaction to 99% reaction, you are getting a jump in degree of average degree of polymerization from 50 to 100. Now, if you think about the lower values of p, 97% or even 90, if 90% of the fractional groups are reacted in normal organic reaction in small molecules, say we are doing a esterification reaction, a 90% reaction means okay, you are happy. If you are not happy, you increase, do something to make a 95% reaction, you are very happy. But in case of polymers, if you do 90%, in the step growth polymers, if you have a 90% conversion, p is 0.9, then it gives you a 10, x n is 10. So, it is a oligomer. So, 90% conversion is not enough to give you a high molecular weight polymer. So, again stressing that for getting a high molecular polymer, you need a conversion p greater than 0.98, and so for 0.98 will give you 50, and so as you increase, it will give you the higher and higher value of x n. How do you get molecular weight from you got xn average degrees of polymers from this. You can get experimentally p if you can experimentally determine the fraction of molecule present. So, if you are doing a titration for carboxylic acid, you can get the fraction of carboxylic is present compared to the beginning. So, you can get x n multiplied by the molecular unit of structural unit plus the molecular unit of molecular weight of the groups at the end. So, if I take a example of adipic acid, plus ethylene glycol, you get a polymer of this. So, molecular weight of the repeating unit in this case, this is the repeating unit, is the molecular weight of this entire repeat unit, which is 172, but molecular weight of average molecular weight of the structure unit in this case, you have 2 structural units in this repeat unit. So, the molecular weight of structure unit in this case average, because 2 are different. So, I can write MSU average is 172 by 2 is 86. Okay. So, and what is the molecular weight of the N group? OH plus H, which gives you 18. So, the total Mn of this polymer would be given by xn bar multiplied by x plus 18. Okay. So, this is very important part, the molecular relations between molecular weight and degrees of polymers. Molecular weight Mn is degrees of polymer multiplied by the molecular weight of the structural units. If the polymer is made from 2 different monomers, like in this case adipic acid and ethylene glycol, then molecular weight of structure will give the average of that. Some people or some student, and from our experience we have seen that they confuse this with the repeat unit. Okay. Do not ever confuse that this is a molecular weight of the repeat unit. This is molecular weight of the structural unit. So, this is 86, not 172 for this example, and in more often in all practical cases we can ignore this the contribution from N group. So, most often we write Mn is this. Okay. Now, again this is molecular of the structural units. If this is synthesized from 2 different monomer, in this case adipic acid and ethylene glycol, this is the average of the residues of the monomer. Okay. The monomer minus the condensate, in this case H2O, an average of that. So, this is 86, not the molecular weight of the repeat unit. Okay. If you take the repeat unit, you will be doubling the calculated molecular weight Mn for this. Now, let us come back to the kinetics of step growth polymers. Now, just to illustrate the general polyesterification, we take example of polyesterification as a example of step growth polymers, and we take as earlier diacid plus diol and gives you polyester. And as I said that in most cases for practical purposes you need a catalyst to increase the reaction rate. So, I can write this in following reaction for this. Ha represents the acid, okay. So, this is the reaction scheme for a polyesterification process, and this waved lines means that it is applicable for any size. We are talking about general reaction, it could be a end of a dimer or pentamer or so on, and so as this the hydroxy groups. Remember, we talked about the equal reactivity of functional groups. So, we are considering all these functional group present at the end of a molecules are equal. So, we consider this general reaction. Now, for all practical purposes, as I said that these are equilibrium reaction, these condensate are taken out from the reaction by applying high vacuum and high temperature. So, that these reactions are almost exclusively on the right hand side. So, the K5, the K6 and K4 are very small. K6 value of K6 and K4 are insignificant, we can ignore them, because in most practical scenario we take out the H2O from the system to make the reaction move towards right hand side. Now, we will come back to the cases where you cannot take out the entire amount of H2O produced, and we will talk about the expression for those cases later. But for this case we are ignoring the H2O, and so that the value of K6 and K4 are very insignificant. And also this K3 is the value of K1, K2 and K5, they have much higher value compared to K3. So, this reaction is your rate determining step, which is given by the rate constant value of K3. So, if I want to write a rate expression, rate of polymerization Rp will be given by loss of acid group from the reaction. This is, we talked about this reaction. So, from this reaction you are getting the, this is 1. So, the rate of reaction is given by K3 and the concentration product of this 1 and OH. 1 is this, remember 1 is this. Now, from the first reaction, this one, we can write a equilibrium constant K K 1 by K 2 is this is 1 by concentration of COH and HA. Okay. From this reaction we can write the equilibrium constant is this concentration of this divided by the concentration of this and concentration of that. So, I can from this expression I can put the concentration of I value to this expression to get R P minus dCOH by dt gives us K 3 K COH HA and OH. I can write this as another constant OH. Now, we can consider two specific cases where you have self catalyzed, that means you are not adding a external catalyst acid catalyst from outside, H is not added outside, the COH groups present in the mediums are acting as a catalyst. In that case, you can write this as K COH square and concentration of OH. Now, as you know that most cases the reaction is carried out with a stoichiometric amount of COH and OH. So, you can replace OH by COH concentration, which gives you this, and I write this as K m cube to make it simplify. So, m is concentration of either COH or OH in this case, because both are used in stoichiometric amount. So, I quickly integrate this expression dCOH by dt is K m cube minus this, you can put m minus m by m cube is K dt. Now, I integrate form at t is equal to 0, m is m 0 and at t is t, m is m, which leads you minus minus here minus of minus half 1 by m square minus 1 by m 0 square is K T, or 1 by square minus 1 by m 0 square is twice K T. Now, again from the definition of a conversion, we can write that amount of monomer present is the amount of monomer present initially at t is equal to 0 minus conversion, which makes this. Now, I am going a little fast, but you can yourself go through it and understand, no problem. So, from this I can now write or x n square K T. Now, you can do yourself for a external catalyzed reaction. We had the original rate equation, R P is dt is K3 KCOH HA and OH. Now, if this is added from externally, this concentration of this is fixed. So, with this and this you can take this a new constant, put this. So, if this makes you again COH square, I can write similarly dm m square is K T. Similarly, integrate from m 0 to m to t is going to 0 to t, and you finally get 1 by m minus 1 by m 0 is k dash t, which will lead to 1 minus 1 by p minus 1 t or x n plus m 0 k dash t. Now, this was for self catalyzed, and this expression for external catalyzed. So, if you want to plot time with molecular weight, in this case for a external catalyzed you get a straight line for x n by versus t plot, and in case of self catalyzed you get square versus t as a plot. So, as you can find out from these, to increase, if you increase the time, it is always you get more increase in the molecular weight when this is external catalyzed. This was for external catalyzed, this was self catalyzed. If you increase the time 4 times, the molecular weight also increases 4 times in case of external catalyzed, but if you increases the time 4 times, you will only double increase in molecular weight for a self catalyzed reaction. Okay. That is the reason it is always very difficult to get a polycondensation reaction by a self catalyzed reaction. We always typically in practice we always add catalyst from outside. Okay. Now, what we will do in the next lecture is we will take this these two expression and start from there in the next lecture, and we will talk about these plots little more and what does it signify, and we talk about the other aspects of step growth polymerization in next lecture. Okay, we will continue this step growth polymerization in the next lecture.